All right. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneur Journey podcast. Today, it is my pleasure to have Kelly Resendez with me. Kelly is we're going to go into her story and we're going to ask her some questions around her expertise about helping women. It is going to be a jam-packed, exciting interview, and I'm looking forward to it. Kelly, if you don't mind, kind of go in and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I live in Northern California. I'm an executive at GoodLeap, which is a multi-billion-dollar financial technology company. I also am co-founder and owner of GoBundance Women and a mom, one of my favorite jobs in the world too, and just somebody that loves making an impact in the world. Part of what I love to do is just helping people through what I kind of call self-suffering so that they can live the most joyful and successful life that they can.
Nice, nice. I did a little bit of research on you and the GoBundance. Wow, I was like, that is something really cool. And I can see myself saying, if I know a woman, like that is something that you should get involved with. So
Well, thank you. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
it's such an important thing. I started the morning, Doug, listening to Sheryl Sandberg's talk on TED from like
Mm,
12 years ago. And it breaks my heart that not a lot has changed since then. And
mm,
that's truly, what my purpose is to help, make female leadership something that rises in the world.
nice, nice. I like to start the interview with kind of getting to know you questions. Like, let's kind of break the ice. Let's not talk all business right off the bat, right? So, one of my first questions for you is there a book or movie that has had a profound impact on your life?
Oh my goodness. I would tell you that the most impactful started 20 years ago when I found personal growth and development and I
Mm,
read the book, The Power of Now by
mm,
Eckhart Tolle. And to be honest with you, I didn't even know what being conscious or present meant prior to reading that book. And what I found was that I was an absolute victim to my
mm,
thoughts and to a mindset that really wasn't serving me. I was a people pleaser. I was that classic overachiever, that wanted to be up on a billboard and say, look at
mm.
me, look at me. And once I found that book, it was the domino effect that created the next 20 years of personal growth and development. So
Wow,
super
wow.
grateful for that.
Ki-
Wasn't happy with them at the time because I was
Yeah.
an overthinker already. And when you're an overthinker and then you start thinking about your overthinking, it gets a little exhausting. But it was well worth, really taking a look and questioning my thoughts and seeing them as separate from who I was.
Yeah. Wow. So that was kind of the spark that started you on the journey to where you are
Yeah.
now. Nice, nice. That is pretty cool that a book. I can go through some milestone books in my path that I was like, okay, that made me pivot here, but I can't really go back to a particular book like you did. That's kind of what sparked my whole thing, which I find that incredible.
Yeah, when you look at like what causes an awakening for most of us, it's major things that happen in our life. And my mom had just gotten diagnosed with dementia. I'd had my daughter. I had lost a grandma. I had a sister
Wow.
that was struggling with some issues. And when they say that the student's ready, the teacher
Mm,
appears, and that's truly what happened. And I'm just so thankful that book came into my life because I believe everything starts with consciousness and
mm,
self-awareness. And without it, like it's really hard to grow in a direction that is, I would say egoless.
mm, hmm. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Next question is, if you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Yeah, I would definitely say Mother Teresa.
Mm,
And the reason why I would say Mother Teresa is that she's one of, people kind of look at her and say, "Oh my gosh, she was just so, you know, so gracious in her care and whatnot." She was really a connector. Like
mm,
what she built, this network, this absolute, I mean, it was just genius how she was able to really ignite a movement to help poverty and homelessness, especially amongst children. And I'm just so in awe of what she was able to create without a lot of money and a lot of the skills and tools that many of us have access to. And what it reminds me of is, information isn't the key. always to getting to that next level. It's what you do with it. And it's what, how dedicated you are to taking action. And, she started helping one person, and then that led to the next and the next and the next. So that's definitely who I'd love to have a chat with.
Wow, we could go into a whole interview just on that, just the resourcefulness, and how
Yeah.
I'm sure we both encounter people, the difference in, just kind of bring this back to something in my story. I was once in corporate America and I was interviewing for a much higher position. And I was interviewing and I was talking about all the books that I read on leadership, on management, all these other things. And the interviewer, he looked at me and said, "I don't care how many books you've read. I care how much you've implemented."
Yeah.
Right? So it's all about how taking the information. Sometimes you need to
Yeah.
reread a book rather than read a new book, right?
Yeah.
So that you can go and implement that information. So that's really
Absolutely. And
good.
as entrepreneurs, we know the one challenge is normally we try to do too many things simultaneously, and we never really get to that next level of mastery in one area. And, there are a lot of people that think they can be the visionary and the, the person that executes on it. Is pretty
Mhm.
darn challenging to do.
It is very, very challenging. That's a great topic. Maybe we'll dive into that a little bit later as well. My next question is, what is your favorite way to practice self-care and unwind?
Yeah, well, my absolute favorite way is just taking baths. At this point,
Mm,
I would tell you that I'm an excellent bath taker. It is something that, I think part of getting to the next level in life is convincing yourself something is almost as important as air or
mm,
water. And that's truly what my rituals are. So, it starts in the morning. I do 365 days out of the year. I'm very faith based. So I read the Bible every day. I read a devotional. I look at how I want to feel. I look at my goals. I journal. I meditate. And then I start to look at the other things in my life that I need to do, rather than the opposite, which is what we find so many people waking up to emails, to text messages, responding to other people's needs and wants before they nurture themselves. So, I would say that's my second favorite, but I have convinced myself that taking a bath washes away all of
mm.
the, negative energy or anything challenging that's happened, so that once I'm done, I'm like in that place where I can still enjoy my evening, with my sweetheart, with Kent, or with my kids, or be able to actually be present without thinking about everything that's happened in the day, which is what so many people do.
Yeah. Oh wow, we are so aligned on definitely not the, maybe not the bath thing, but
No
this right
bubble
here.
baths for you?
No bubble bath for me, but the Entrepreneur Journey Planner and Journal, which I partnered with someone to create, is all about starting your day, looking at the big picture and planning the day rather than going into chaos right away. Like
I
get
love it.
focused, right?
I
So
love it. And it's
yeah.
something that is so, it's so simple, but it makes such a bold statement to your brain, which is my emotional and physical well-being is the greatest priority in my life. And
Yeah.
I've got to nurture that every day.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure everyone that's listening could go back and contrast a day where they started out in chaos, right? Where
Mhm.
they just dove right into the chaos versus a time that where they've kind of got time to get centered, whether it's getting into the Bible and doing devotion, or reading a book to get their mindset right. The contrast is usually very drastic. Like
Yes,
you are much more prepared. Things seem to be flow much better when you go in with a plan rather than going in kind of reactive, right? Rather than proactive.
absolutely.
So yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, anytime you talk to most entrepreneurs, they're going to tell you the same thing. It feels like I play a game of whack-a-mole every single day. I get through one
Hmm.
challenge, I get to the next, I get to the next. And that's the way that they approach things. And, who you're being in those situations is more important than what you're doing. And yet, so few people focus on it. And I just, for all your listeners, and it sounds like you're so aligned on this, like once you really focus on who you're being,
Hmm.
everything changes. Like it just is a part of life as we navigate these things. And I always just look at challenges as clarity building. It's just, what clarity? I don't want to be in this situation again. Well, how can I
Yep.
avoid it? Maybe I need to be more thoughtful about hiring and test a little bit more, do this so that I don't end up in this situation next time, rather than poor me, I just made another bad hire. And that's the way that most people respond, and there's just a different way to do things.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because a lot of entrepreneur stories start with a problem and then finding the solution.
Yeah.
But often they forget that lesson that they learned at the very beginning, that they solved the problem and that's why they're an entrepreneur. They
Yeah.
forget to solve the problem and just keep having the same problems recur over and over again.
Yep.
Very, very, very good point.
Absolutely.
So this is a staple of the Entrepreneur Podcast. It's the fill in the blank question. And your fill in the blank question is entrepreneur journey, not entrepreneur journey. Let me start over. Entrepreneurship is a journey of blank and blank.
I would say as a journey of awakening to your highest self.
Mm, nice.
I
Nice.
think being an entrepreneur is the best guru that you could ever choose to really, become the best version of yourself. Because if you go ego, which most people do, most people start with a little bit of significance and something to prove, or, I want to show them what's possible. And it only gets you so long before
Mm,
most people get to that point where you do awaken that there's another level, that level of contribution and love and making the world a better place that's really gonna, get you to the next level.
wow. Yeah. Yet again, another thing we could probably dive much deeper on. Like your why will burn out if it's not strong enough, right? Like
Absolutely.
because when it's focused, especially when it's focused on self, that'll burn out. And so, just a word of wisdom for any entrepreneurs out there: make sure your why is solid, and that you really have a true purpose. Because otherwise, you're going to get to the end of the rope and be like, "Oh, this is it,"
Yeah.
right?
Well, a why, it's not like anyone ever teaches us about a why. And so people accidentally fall into whys all the time. Like they'll say for my kids or for this. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, your kids are going to leave. They really don't care at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day. They want you to
Mm-hmm.
help them, but they're on their own journey. And
Yeah.
so really just diving into that deeper purpose of what feeds your soul is an exercise that I believe that we should all take. So one of the I would say tasks that I give people that I work with is to do an abundance audit. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really just taking whether it's 30 days or even a week, and just going through and rating things as a positive, a negative, or neutral, so that you can
Mm-hmm.
start to see like really what lights you up, what do you get lost in. And many of us are good at a lot of things. Like I am a really good operator. I'm really good at building systems and allowing something to scale, but it doesn't light me up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I will get depleted if I spend too much time on that. So I have to really offset that with things like this that are going to be able to allow me to share some of the other things that I enjoy most. So it's important that you do this abundance audit so that you can really figure out what your why is.
Yeah. Wow. This needs to be a 2 hour interview. We don't have time for that, unfortunately, because we could go into that too about like what you need to shed or what you need to do less of and what you need to do more of. Really, really good. So now I do want to go into your story. I want to know more about you, and I'm
Yeah.
sure the audience wants to know more about you. How you like what were your entrepreneur origins and how did you get to where you are now?
Yeah, so I am so blessed that I was raised by two entrepreneurs. My mom was an entrepreneur and an investor
Mm,
simultaneously. So I kind of got the 1-2, punch. I was born into it. So my parents owned a heating and air conditioning company in Northern California and had me in the office with them from
mm,
age 3 to 4. Even though I thought I was helping, I probably wasn't really helping, but in
yeah.
my mind, I was already contributing. And so, being raised by parents like that, I definitely was the kid that raised their hand first and wanted to, really make a bigger impact in the world from a young age. So I would also classify myself as just that overachiever. And
Mm,
so I got into the mortgage industry very young and created a massive amount of success. And so when you are a 100% commission, you're in essence an entrepreneur already.
mhm, mhm,
And the greatest gift that I really gave myself was looking at what everyone else did and deciding to do something completely different. This was in the late 90s. So I built my business on teaching other people how to grow their business. And talk about accountability. As I taught real estate agents what they should be doing with their database, what they should be doing to network strategically, or what they should be doing, I had to hold myself to that same level of accountability. And so I was top 1% in the nation, had an amazing career in mortgage, invested simultaneously, started speaking and doing things like that at a really young age. And so for myself, I knew, even though I was really good at it, that it was not really what I wanted to do long term.
Mm,
And so had an amazing blessing. I've been here at Goodly since 2011. And so we've really built, we're the largest solar financing company and a large scale home improvement financing company. We have
wow.
mortgage as well. And I've worn so many hats here, being here for 13 years. But it really allowed me to kind of do more of what I loved, which is impacting women across the nation by, I've written a couple books, I speak, I, co-own a women's mastermind that helps ambitious female entrepreneurs really get to the next level as well. So that's kind of my career in a nutshell. But the biggest thing that I would tell you, especially after listening to Sheryl Sandberg's interview this morning, was that I did not shy away from taking a seat at the table. That
Mm,
was the one thing that I did really well. And I was raised that way. And I believe it's a skill that most women need to, really adopt, is that you're not going to move forward unless you ask for what you want. And I'm blessed that when I came here, I asked, our CEO, I'm like, hey, I want to do this and I want to do these other
mm,
things. And it was just, it was great because he was raised by a single mom who still
mm.
works at our company, and he's all about female leadership. And so it's elevated our female leaders within our organization too.
Wow. Wow. Um, Quick question. I want to go back to your origin with your
Yeah.
parents because something that fascinates me, and maybe a contrast to other entrepreneurs, is you were exposed to, especially with the investment side, a high level of risk tolerance, probably, right? As
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, we take risk. As investors take risk. So um, where some entrepreneurs probably were brought up in more conservative environments, like
Yeah.
you know built on stability, right? Like what can we
Yeah.
count on,
Or
right?
certainty.
Or
Yep.
certainty, right?
Absolutely.
So if you could kind of just talk a little bit more about how that you feel like that has shaped you coming from that type of background.
For sure. So the greatest gift is I didn't have a childhood abundance block that most
Mm,
people have. And that's what I'd liken it to. We all
mhm,
have a subconscious mind that wants to protect us. And if
mhm,
we've been told our entire life we can't afford that,
mm,
or you need to be more thoughtful, well, what about retirement? I mean, how many kids I grew up with whose parents were telling them, oh, you should work for the state because of the retirement plan?
mhm,
So many different subtle, just, I would say, subliminal messages telling you that certainty is where it's at. And
mhm,
what we know to be true is uncertainty creates a lot of joy and a lot of
mhm,
wealth along the way. And so
mhm,
having parents that invested in real estate and had businesses was, again, just showed me that you can have it all.
mhm,
I can be a great partner. I can be a great mom. I can be an executive. I can have another company. I can still write books and speak professionally. And that's probably the greatest gift, was that gift of, you can have ands in your life because we're the creators. My parents taught me that I was the creator of my own success.
mhm,
Now, with that, there were some, challenges that I'd say. My parents didn't use leverage. So that's one thing that I know would have held them back,
mhm,
is they did everything with cash. And so it was
mhm,
one of those things that they probably could have, taken their empire and 10x'd it over a
mhm.
period of time if they would have used leverage. So they were still conservative to a certain degree, but they were also willing to. My mom literally never shied away for asking for help or for asking for what she needed. And that gift has been something that, I'm blessed to have today.
Wow, wow. Yeah, nice, nice. Now I kind of want to dive into your expertise a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of go into some of the GoBundance stuff, as well as anything that you could tell us from your expertise. So we do a secret question for every entrepreneur, and it's around their expertise. Your secret question is, what is the secret to helping women create an abundance mindset and overcome self-sabotage?
Yeah. So what I would say the secret, there's two, and they kind of go together. The first secret is recognizing you don't have to do this alone. Too many women try to take on everything on their own shoulders. So they want to be that super mom. They want to be the person that is excelling in business, and's at every soccer game, and's taking care of all of the things that are at home. And so recognizing that you don't have to do it alone. And part of that is being able to articulate really
Mhm.
solidly what you need help with, what's going to get you to the next level. How do you, really make sure that your partner is a partner, that
Mhm.
they're supporting, the family as much as you need them to. And then being able to articulate, like, what are the things in life that are going to get you to the next level? For anyone listening, for me, I want to be connected to ambitious female leaders that really, want to get to the next level. And so leveraging a mastermind community is the other secret, is giving ourselves accountability. When you're ambitious, you believe you don't need as much accountability as other people. Yet we all have goals. We all have
Mhm.
desires that we've put on off to the side simply because we are trying to do too many things. And so I would tell you that I believe our superpower is truly just recognizing that it's the collective
Mhm.
wisdom and network of all of the people in our sphere that help elevate us to the next level, and being able to articulate the help and the referrals or whatever it is that you need in order to be able to move forward.
Yeah, you are speaking my language. That's what I'm all about as well. I have something called the Entrepreneur Connect, and um, everyone that I'm around in that, we all know the value of a network, right? And
Yeah,
in the day of technology and AI and everything else, it's still about human relationships and building those connections and those relationships in business, that
always.
really give you, and to change your environment, right? Like a lot of people are in an environment that is that, um, not necessarily just conservative, but keeping you keeping you stuck, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when you can get into like a mastermind like you hold, or any type of environment where people are going to lift you up and push you further, that's always a better environment to be in.
Absolutely. And then we've all heard that idea that, proximity is power.
Mhm.
I would even amplify that. Proximity is power if you can articulate exactly what you need to elevate. And one of the things in one of my superpowers in mortgage was teaching people, like, please don't tell me you work by referral if you don't have metrics and goals
Mhm.
and an accountability or trackability component to it. That is not working by referral. That's accidentally getting some referrals. So,
Mhm.
I always have a goal, even within our own community, that we get at least one referral to an ambitious female leader once a year by every member. If
Mhm.
anyone listening, when you really look at, like, how do you drive revenue, tracking, some of the metrics around, referrals or networking are really gonna get you to the next level. Most people go to networking and they hand out cards and then they do nothing, rather than, like, hey, my goal is to connect deeply with 3 people that might be in a place that could really impact me long term.
Yeah. Again, speaking my language, that's how we run our
Yeah,
network too. It's not about passing out business cards. It's about deeper connections. So yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, that's amazing. So I kind of want to get into your process a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about how you help women shift their mindset?
Yeah. Well, let me just say this: shifting mindset is probably one of the most challenging things that we can do. And that's just simply because our brains are so darn stubborn. I always tell people it's like you've got the first iPhone or maybe even a BlackBerry. And what you need to do is really just be upgrading the version on a consistent basis. So the first thing that I really coach to is, don't start with the mindset that you already have.
Mm.
Build a new one based off of the vision for how you want to feel in your life. And
Mhm.
when you start with a vision for how you want to feel in your life rather than what you want to do, you really are able to, I would say, create some better goals around how to get there. And, like we started with self care, right?
Mhm.
If you don't have goals around self care, your self-care is not going to be a priority. So you've got to teach your brain like what's important, what is exactly, what's a requirement for this. And so part of this mindset reset for me is, again, start with a vision for how you want to feel, then create some actionable goals, then ask yourself, what would I need to believe in order to be able to move, my vision and my goals forward? And so the abundance mindset or leadership mindset that I coach to is really about being that creator of your own reality, seeing challenges as opportunities, knowing everything's always working out, whatever it's intended. The most challenging, I would say, is the being flexible and adaptable will create
Mm-hmm.
more abundance, because
Mm-hmm.
most of us, our preferences and our attachments to outcomes is so heavy that we stumble. We get
Mm-hmm.
emotionally triggered every time that happens. Well, what happens when we get emotionally triggered? We pull ourselves out of our vision. It's like, oh, I've had a bad day. I'm going to go have a, 3-item combo and a pitcher of margaritas and drown my sorrows and not stay on, stay on track with really how I want to feel. And so with mindset, I tell people it's an everyday activity. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a noun. It's not a noun, it's a verb.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to practice it every day. Who do you want to be? What do I need to believe to experience life with more joy and with more abundance than I've ever had before? And some days I look back at yesterday, I'm like, dang, I got like a C minus, but it doesn't matter. I just take like no shame, no blame. What can I get more clear on? Wow, I really exceeded my human capacity yesterday and my tolerance was really low. How do I change that today?
Mm-hmm.
What can I do just a little bit different?
Yeah. A couple things I want to touch on there.
Yeah,
Um, when you talked about having a bad day, and that kind of stops the momentum, right? Like they let a bad
completely.
day sometimes lead to get them into a bad week, which leads to a bad month,
Yeah,
which leads to a bad year. You do not halt your momentum just because one day did not go the exact way you planned it, or that you had
yeah,
something fall through the cracks that you did not plan on having fall through the cracks. And it's like you said, it's an everyday thing that you have to keep up with it. And just go back to your previous statement about tracking. Track your progress, right?
yeah.
Have KPIs. Know what you're going for, and what we focus on expands, right? So what you focus on will help you grow. So I love everything that you said about that.
Yeah, and when you look at it, like the access to information that we have, when I started in my career in the late 90s, I had to go to the Cow Palace to watch Zig Ziglar. I couldn't watch him on
Wow.
YouTube. I couldn't
Yep.
read him anywhere else. I had to go there. And I probably took a few notes and then I came back and I probably tried to implement a few of those things that he brought on. The challenge with the age of information, we're taking in too much and we're not doing
Mm-hmm.
anything with it. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the strategies that I always teach is that you need to go deeper in one area. So don't pick more than one leadership skill to focus on per quarter. And then really everything that you do should be centered around that one thing. Like don't read other books, don't watch other podcasts, really just go deeper. So it really does make a difference. And I look at my career, I've had so many blessings with it. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of Deepak Chopra's 7
Mm-hmm.
Spiritual Laws of Success. I went deep in the law of detachment in early 2007 and talk about, thank goodness, because the market completely
Mm-hmm.
went, the whole world economy
Mm-hmm.
collapsed. And rather than feeling victimish at all, I just look for opportunity. I was like, I can't be attached to what I did. What can I
Mm-hmm.
do different? And I rebuilt based off of being one of the largest government lenders. And because we all had to go FHA and VA at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're preparing right now for uncertainty in the future, for challenges in the future, once they get here, you just kind of gamify it. Like that's what I've kind of done with my life. Like shoulder shrug, another challenge, interest rates rose the highest they've ever gone. What do
Mm-hmm.
we need to do next? Like you don't just stop the game. And that's what most people do is they stop because they allow their brain. Like if you really understand neuroscience, your brain will absolutely focus on negative if you don't tell it what to focus on. So you've got to take back that power over your brain and start to tell it what to focus on.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Next question. Can you share a success story of a woman who has applied your strategies to overcome self-sabotage and achieve their goals?
Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna actually just share a little story of one of our members, and she's actually my partner now. She wasn't originally in the business, and it's one of those things that, so often we get tripped up on kind of what is it going to take to get to that next level? So she was in a W-2, she wanted
Mm,
to do a lot more, and over a period of time recognized like her attachment to, having this paycheck, to having this consistent life was going to hold her back for the rest of her life if she
mhm,
didn't release it. But part of it was coming up with like what abundance, kind of dollar amount or amount of certainty would allow you to go take this risk in a bigger place. And so she built that over a period of time rather than just staying stuck in it. She just focused on doing that, and over that period of time was able to leave her W-2. And now she has her own business, and she also is co-owner of GoBundance Women. I brought her in with me, and she's completely changed the way that she experiences life because she has so much freedom to travel and to do the things that she loves to do because she just released that attachment to the certainty that a W-2 brought her.
yeah. One of the comments I want to make about that is just about abundance overall. A lot of people attribute abundance just to money, right? Abundance is more
Yeah.
than money. Abundance to me, a lot of times means freedom, right?
Oh, it's all about freedom. It's
Mm,
about feeling like you have a limitless amount of time and resources and energy. And honestly, like when you release what's possible, whether it's just, like same person was dealing on a business situation with another partner on something, and it was just really stressing her out and weighing her down. And it was like, no, you've got to open yourself up to unlimited possibilities. Like,
mhm,
what is your next best step? Like, what options do you have? And once you open yourself up, magic happens.
mm,
Like all of a sudden that deal completely turned around and is in her favor now, where before, I think our tendency is to feel a little bit helpless, a little bit more like a victim. It's okay. That's not good. I wish I could teach you how to make that completely go away. Our
mhm,
brain won't allow it. It just,
mm,
again, it's still got that old version in there. We just have to
mhm.
see it for what it is and say, I appreciate the protection, and I'm going to continue to move forward with unlimited possibilities because I know I'm the creator of my own reality, and this is going to work out for me.
Yeah. Yeah. We can't completely eliminate fear, but we can proceed
No,
through it.
absolutely. I wish we could. There's a lot of things that I have removed fear because when you really go through your childhood and you start to see some of these bigger statements or seasons that you had in your life that maybe something happened, I feel like fear of rejection is one of the easiest
Mm, mhm,
to get through. Fear of success is a little bit more challenging simply because we want connection. People
mhm,
connect in failure so much easier than they do in success. They
yeah.
really do.
Yeah.
And so that fear of success often comes with, what if my friends or other people are going to think that I'm this or that? And that's why up leveling your, the people that you surround yourself with while maintaining those relationships is so important because we all need to celebrate. And if
Mhm,
you're the most successful person in your circle, you have no place to celebrate without people being like, oh man, Doug's, bragging again about the entrepreneur journey instead of what's next, Doug? Like
mhm.
what are you working on next?
Yeah. 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 Awesome. Through my research, one of the things I find that you say a lot is using your big voice, right? So, what
Yes.
advice do you have for women looking to find their big voice? And can you kind of define big voice a little bit more?
Absolutely. So this came from early lessons in reading Power of Now or just really practicing mindfulness and recognizing that I wasn't my thoughts, and I started to see within my own brain I have this big voice, right? That's my highest most authentic self. That's not my
Mm,
false self. And then I have this little voice, which is my false self that's trying to protect me. Anytime we come from a place of protection, we're on the wrong path.
mm,
Like we're on the wrong path. It's not going to go away. I've made friends with my little voice. I love it.
mm,
I appreciate it. I take it into consideration because sometimes it's hard to differentiate intuition from our little voice.
Mm-hmm.
So I just sit with it for a little while and maybe delay making decisions where years ago I made instant decisions, all that left brain, just whatnot. And now, I try to breathe into decisions just a little bit longer and I'm a little bit more thoughtful and trust that that bigger voice is going to come to the surface. So what I try to do with my thoughts is I see them as separate from who I am. And then I just start to grab onto them. I wish every single person walked by a mirror and was like, hey, wow, you are pretty amazing today. But that's not what happens. Like we all have that little voice in us that's like, oh my goodness, like, man, you've got a few more wrinkles at age 50, or this is going on, or like we're really hard on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like just simply because we are wired, when you look at that, you're wired to focus on what's not satisfactory. Rewiring yourself to focus on what's satisfactory is just a gift. And when you do that, you'll start to notice this big voice is always there. You just need to give it time to be able to come to the surface. And a lot of it's just taking a deep breath before you respond or make decisions.
Yeah, that brings me to one of the things that we teach that some of the people that come through our programs to do is practice gratitude on a daily basis. Because when you talk about that's self-talk, right? When you talk about just what's wrong, if you practice gratitude on a daily basis, you're starting off with what's right,
Oh
right?
my goodness. Doug,
So
if more people did that, like
yeah,
the world would be a better place,
yeah,
right? When you look at most people, again, see gratitude as like a noun, like I'm grateful.
mm-hmm,
Well, gratitude has to be that practice. And it's
mm-hmm,
just, again, the neuroscience of your brain's going to ruminate. If you don't tell it what to ruminate on, it's
mm-hmm,
going to go rogue on its own. It's going to focus on, like, I look at parenting, one of the greatest gifts. It is so easy to focus on all the negative things that our kids do or have done rather than all of those micro moments of just, connection or goodness. And you've got to reteach yourself how to do that. There were times, trust me, when they were teenagers, I had to go back and look at baby pictures to find some gratitude.
yeah, yeah.
I look at the Fortnite years. I don't know if you have kids, but
Well, I have a daughter and she's graduating high school this week.
awesome. Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
That is amazing. But, having a teenage son and started playing Fortnite, talk about hijacking from a level of, like the greatest neuroscience geniuses put these games together. They put everything in one place to make them as highly addictive as possible, right? And I look at some of those seasons that we went through. It was hard to find gratitude in the moment. I had to go back. I had to really, just so that I could stay in a place of unconditional love and acceptance because I mean, Nicole, if you're listening, I love you, but I didn't like you there for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
and so we do have to practice gratitude to get through that.
Yeah, yeah.
And same thing in your business, right? You might, for those of you listening that are in a challenging season in your business right now, just to be grateful that number one, you had the courage to start a business. Most people don't. You have the courage to get through something. A lot of people will just walk away, close their doors. It's easy to do today. And
Mhm.
so just really, really spending more time being grateful for the person that made this decision to create this business is a great practice.
Yeah, like it helps you enjoy the journey, not just the destination, right? When you're
Yeah.
grateful on a daily basis, you're grateful
Yeah.
for the journey that you're on.
Yeah.
So good. Like I said, we could probably have a 2-hour interview, and we could just blast value onto the audience and help them take continuous steps forward. But we are limited for time. Thank you so much, Kelly, for this great interview. You like I said, you poured out so much value that I know that the audience will take and can apply. And that's what we're all about, is sharing value that they can go and apply in their journey so that they can keep moving forward. That's how I close every entrepreneur journey, is I just say keep moving forward, because you don't fail unless you stop moving forward, right?
Yes.
So thank you again. I do ask one last, well, first off, where can people find out more about
Yeah.
you, find out more about GoBundance Women and everything that you've got going on?
Awesome. So two things. Number one, there's a men's division as well. and amazing, over 1,000 men in GoBundance Men that are supporting and holding one another accountable and helping them rise to the next level. But for me, if you go to www.downloadthepod.com, you will find a 3-part series on overcoming the top 3 ways that leaders sabotage their own success. So some great things in there and just some great tools on being able to take your life to the next level. And that will give you everything that you need to know. Within GoBundance Women, we put you into a pod of 4 to 5 other amazing people like yourself that really hold space for you to celebrate, get support, ask for help, all of those things. And that's really where, I see the magic happening, beyond our accelerator course and coaching and other things that you get within the community too. So that's a great place to go. Just downloadthepod.com.
Okay. That link will be, if you're watching this on YouTube, that link will be in the video description. If you're listening to this as an audio podcast, it'll be in the show notes. But that link, you can go and find out a lot more about Kelly and the GoBundance Women. And like she said, if you're a man, it's not exclusive. There's also a men's component to it too. So go check it out. I do ask one last question, Kelly, to every entrepreneur that comes on here, because I always feel like they leave and there's a piece of wisdom that they wanted to share that maybe I didn't ask the question around or something like that. So this is really free form. What wisdom do you have to pass down to any entrepreneurs that are listening?
Yeah, I would just say the greatest advice for any entrepreneur is truly, even if you aren't there yet, make the decision today to put yourself first. You will have so much more to give in the world, and really make sure that what you're doing is world positive. Because what I know to be true is if you're not making a big impact in the world will not help you make a big impact in your own household. And so make sure that you're doing right by everyone. And there's always pivots that you can make in your career as well. And really just, make sure that putting yourself first will give you that energy and inspiration to be a little bit more creative and innovative, which is what all businesses succeed off of, right? Is just solving problems. And you can never stop doing that.
That's right. All right. Wow. Thank you so much again, Kelly. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe at wherever you're getting the audio podcast or on YouTube. And until next time, entrepreneurs, keep moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you.